Thank you for viewing Module 4 of our Policy Surveillance Training video series. In this video, you will learn about collecting the law. By the end of this video, you should be able to refine citations collected during your 5-state memorandum, define collecting the law, and understand the steps involved in collecting the law. This wheel represents the full process for collecting the law. We will go through each of these steps throughout the video. Note that these steps are repeated iteratively as you work on your project. Ideally, your team should work in batches of 10 jurisdictions at a time. This way, any adjustments that are made to your search strategy and scope as you are collecting laws can be applied moving forward. This avoids repeating research, which can occur when attempting to research all jurisdictions at once. By this stage of the process, you should have written 2 5-state memorandums, for a total of 10 states researched. For more information on 5-state memorandums, please visit Module 2 in the Learning Library, Defining Your Scope and Background Research. You should have also developed your final questions by this stage of the process. Before moving into researching your remaining jurisdictions, you will want to revisit the citations collected in your 5-state memorandums to ensure they are the citations necessary to answer your final questions. This is necessary because sometimes your scope will change during question development. Note that if you only wrote one 5-state memorandum because of resource limitations, you will only have to perform this step for those 5 jurisdictions. In addition, if your resource is preventing you from writing a 5-state memorandum at all, you can start collecting law right away. Please note that you may have to adjust your search strategy and revisit your initial states if you did not write a 5-state memorandum. Collecting the law consists of researchers gathering important information about laws relevant to the topic being studied in each jurisdiction included in the project. The information collected should include citations, effective dates, statutory history, and the text of the law. These are the steps you follow when collecting the law. The following slides will detail these 7 steps. The first step in collecting the law consists of identifying relevant laws in the jurisdictions being researched. Researchers should use the search strategy established during their background research to identify relevant laws. Note that if the scope of your project changed during question development, you may have to modify your search strategy accordingly. As researchers are identifying relevant laws, they should record the search terms and strategy being used in each jurisdiction using a daily research sheet. A daily research sheet should list the databases used to perform the research, what search terms were used, what results were yielded from the searches, and any additional notes on the search strategy. You can find a template of our daily research sheet under related resources for this module in the Learning Library at lawatlas.org. The supervisor should check the daily research sheet periodically to refine and update the search strategy based on what has been working and not working. The search strategy should also be included in the research protocol, which is a document describing the methodology used in a project. The protocol is a living document that evolves throughout the project. The goal of the protocol is to create a project that is transparent and replicable. For more information on the research protocol, please see Module 7 of the Learning Library, Publication and Dissemination. Relevant laws that are being identified should be recorded on a master sheet document. The master sheet is a document that records citations of laws that are in the project's scope, with 1 master sheet per jurisdiction. This slide includes a sample of 1 law in a master sheet for Alaska, using distracted driving law as the example. A master sheet should include the citation and title of each relevant law, the statutory history for each law, and the effective dates for each amendment to relevant laws, going back to the start date of the dataset. Note that if your project is cross-sectional and only looks at what the law says at one point in time, only 1 effective date will have to be collected. The statutory history is the session law number for bills and agency notice for regulations. This is included to identify the versions of the law included in the project. Effective dates indicate the date the law becomes effective, unlike the passage date or signature date. For more information on effective dates, please see our related resource under this module, Effective Dates. For more information on creating master sheets, please see our related resource under this module, How to Build a Master Sheet. As you are listing relevant laws in your master sheet, note that they should be organized hierarchically. Generally, laws are part of a hierarchy in which federal laws are at the top, local laws are at the bottom, and state laws are in between. Statutes should also be listed before administrative rules, including regulations. Finally, citations should be listed in sequential order. In addition to organizing laws hierarchically, laws should also be organized chronologically on your master sheet in the order that amendments become effective. Notice that this only applies to policy surveillance, which tracks the evolution of laws over time, as opposed to a legal assessment project, which shows the state of the law at a point in time. By now, you should have recorded a list of relevant citations that you want to include in your project. Now it is time to collect the text, or body, of the law. To collect this, use each citation to look up the body of the law and store it in a document. A word processor such as Microsoft Word works well for this. Note that in a policy surveillance project, you will have to collect the text of the law for each time it is amended. For a legal assessment, you will have to collect the text of the law for the amendment that corresponds to the point in time that you are measuring. After creating your master sheet and collecting individual laws, you should organize your law into folders. Keeping documents organized by jurisdiction will make it easier to prepare for coding and will allow the supervisor to perform quality control more efficiently. The next step is to transfer and combine collected laws into a legal text document. The legal text is the organized version of the relevant law for a jurisdiction. For a legal assessment, only one legal text is needed for each jurisdiction, representing what the law in that jurisdiction looks like at that point in time. For policy surveillance, you will need multiple legal texts for each jurisdiction, representing whenever a relevant law changed during the project's time span. The legal text is the document which is used when coding the law. For more information on coding, please see Module 5 in our Learning Library, Coding the Law. The master sheet should be used as a guide to create your legal text. The text of each relevant law should be listed in your legal text document using the order of the laws listed in the master sheets. In this example, the project is a legal assessment, so the researcher should include the text of each law that is in effect at the point in time being measured. Amendment trackers facilitate creating the legal text for a policy surveillance project because they show the progression of the law in a specific jurisdiction. Amendment trackers list amendments to relevant laws in one jurisdiction in chronological order. You will have one amendment tracker for every jurisdiction included in the project. They include effective dates for each amendment and descriptions of the changes made in each amendment. Each entry in the amendment tracker reflects one version of the law that must be collected and coded in order to measure the law across the time period included in the project. Here's an example of an amendment tracker. Note that the amendment tracker should list a few key pieces of information. An iteration number should be listed first, and indicates the iteration of the law. An iteration is a set of specific provisions that constitute the relevant law for a given jurisdiction and time period. Each time any provision for a jurisdiction changes, a new iteration must be created. For example, if Alaska has 4 statutes for a topic, and one changes, a new iteration must be made. Likewise, if a relevant law in a jurisdiction is added or removed, a new iteration must be created. The first iteration is always the start date of the project. In the example above, the project is tracking distracted driving laws beginning on January 1st, 2011. Any subsequent iterations represent amendments to relevant laws that occurred after the start date. For example, the second iteration is on May 11th, 2012 because a relevant law was amended with that effective date. The date should also be listed. The date designates the effective date for the amendment you are describing. The amendment should be listed as well, and lists the citation for the law that is being amended on that date. Finally, a description of the changes that occurred in the listed amendment should be listed in the last column. This information is listed to facilitate coding. This example is a demonstration of how we use the master sheet and amendment tracker together to create the legal text, in order to show the evolution of law over time. Follow these steps to create the legal text for a policy surveillance project. 1. Citations should be recorded in the master sheet, which lists all relevant laws in one jurisdiction along with effective dates and statutory history. 2. The researchers should use the master sheets to create the amendment trackers, adding an iteration for each date the law changes. 3. The researcher will then copy the body of the law for every citation in effect on the date listed for that iteration, in hierarchical order, and paste it into the legal text. There will be one version of the legal text for every iteration included in the amendment tracker. In the example from the previous slide, there would be 3 legal text versions for Alaska: how the law looked on January 1st, 2011, how the law looked on May 11th, 2012, and finally, how the law looked on July 1st, 2012, because there are 3 amendment dates and 3 iterations in the amendment tracker. In the above example, we are using a distracted driving project. Please note that this slide does not contain the full legal text, but extracts of the legal text for the purposes of demonstration. Using our amendment tracker, we know that Alaska Statute 1255-035 was amended with an effective date of July 1st, 2012. This means that a new version of the legal text must be created. To create the July 1st, 2012 legal text, follow these steps. 1. Use the amendment tracker to confirm the changes to the laws. 2. Open the previous version of the legal text, in this case May 11th, 2012. 3. Save as or otherwise duplicate the entire document. 4. Find the law that has changed. 5. Make edits to the law. And finally, 6. Save the new version of the legal text using the iteration date. The outcome is a snapshot of what all relevant laws looked like in Alaska on July 1st, 2012. Please note that no legal text obtained under a license listed here or a similar license may be stored or published on Law Atlas. Here you will find a summary of what we have covered on collecting the law. To learn more about conducting policy surveillance, please visit the Learning Library at lawatlas.org to access additional modules and resources, including Module 5, Coding the Law. Thank you for watching.